Hey, love warriors out there, welcome back to Love Hackers. I'm Alex Carter, here to help you navigate the crazy world of dating.
And I'm Sophie Tanaka.
And yeah, we're ready to dive into another juicy topic today. You know, between the two of us, Sophie, we've seen it all right. Ghosting, breadcrumbing, benching, zombieing. The whole dating zoo.
Oh, it's true. Dating these days has its own language, but that's why we're here, right? To decode those signals and help you find that love you deserve.
Exactly. And speaking of decoding signals, today we're talking about those red flags that tell you she's just not that into you. You know, how to spot a player from a mile away. Think of it like a secret code, but once you crack it, you're golden.
Absolutely. We're talking about those women who might be stringing you along, keeping their options open, or just not ready to commit. We're going to equip you with the knowledge to spot those signs early on.
So, Sophie, let's jump right in. Telltale sign number one. She's a texting queen. Emojis, sweet nothings, you name it. But when it comes to actually meeting up, crickets. What's the deal with that?
Well, Alex, it's classic all talk, no action, right? Some people feel much more comfortable behind a screen. They can be whoever they want, say all the right things, but never actually have to follow through.
So it's like they're building this fantasy relationship, but it only exists in the digital world.
Exactly. It's creating the illusion of a connection without that real-life vulnerability that comes with actually, dating someone.
Okay, so how do we separate the genuinely nervous texters from the ones who are intentionally keeping it in the texting zone?
Look for those patterns, Alex. If she's consistently dodging meetups despite your efforts, that's a huge red flag. It's like she's giving you just enough to keep you hooked, but not enough to actually move things forward.
Ooh, breadcrumbing. Those little digital crumbs of attention that keep you coming back for more,
Mm-hmm.
but never the actual feast.
Exactly. Consistency is key. One canceled date might be a genuine conflict. But if those cancellations pile up or those excuses get vague, pay attention.
So don't overanalyze every text. Look at the bigger picture. Which actually brings us to our next sign. The dreaded favor call. She disappears, then suddenly reappears only when she needs something.
The convenience relationship, right? She's treating you more like a personal assistant than a potential partner.
Yeah.
It's normal to need help sometimes, sure. But if it's a pattern, she might be taking advantage.
Right, it's about balance.
Right.
Are you getting as much as you're putting in if the scales are always tipped in her favor?
Hmm.
Time to reevaluate.
Absolutely. A healthy relationship, it's mutual, it's supportive, there's reciprocity. If it feels one-sided, something's off.
Now let's talk about something that could be a real buzzkill. Lack of genuine interest. You're sharing your passions, your dreams, even that embarrassing childhood story, and she's giving you the blank stare.
It's like talking to a wall, isn't it? And it goes beyond just listening. It's about remembering. Does she remember things you've shared? Does she ask follow-up questions? That genuine interest. It shows she wants to connect on a deeper level.
To actually get to know you.
Right. Otherwise, it's like you're just background noise in her life. And trust me, you deserve so much more than that.
Preach. All right, this next one can be tricky. The army of male admirers constantly orbiting around her. So, Sophie, how do we know if having lots of male friends is harmless or a red flag?
It's all about context, Alex. Having male friends in itself, not a bad thing, of course. But how does she interact with them? How much attention is she giving them, especially when you're around?
So it's not about feeling jealous, it's about reading her actions. Are they lining up with someone who's genuinely interested in building something with you?
Exactly. Is there a lot of flirting? Is she constantly looking for validation from other guys? Those are your cues?
Actions speak louder than words, right? If her actions are screaming she's still looking, take note.
For sure. Speaking of actions, let's talk about the infamous selfie test. How comfortable is she being seen with you? Especially on social media.
Yes. The girl who avoids photos, never tags you, keeps the relationship on the DL. What's the psychology there, Sophie?
Well, think about it. Social media is a huge part of how we define and present our relationships these days, right? So if she's reluctant to be seen with you publicly, it could mean she's not ready to claim you as her partner.
Trying to keep up a certain image online, maybe?
Yeah.
And you don't quite fit the picture.
Exactly. Control, perception. Maybe she's worried what others will think, or maybe she's keeping her options open.
Interesting. So it's not just about hating selfies, it's about what those actions say.
Right. And this reluctance to be seen together often carries over into another area, meeting friends and family.
Ah, yes, the inner circle. So, Sophie, is it always a red flag if you haven't met her loved ones after a certain point?
It depends, Alex. How long have you been dating? What's the vibe overall? But usually introducing a partner to your friends and family, it means you want them in your life, right? It's a level of seriousness, commitment.
Like saying, hey, this person matters to me, meet them.
Yeah. And if she's hesitant to introduce you, maybe she's not ready for that step. Or she's worried what they'll think, which maybe means she's not sure about you herself.
Okay, so something to watch for, especially if it's been a while and things seem good otherwise. Speaking of which, let's talk about the master of dodging future plans. You try to make plans more than a couple weeks out, and she's vague, non-committal.
That's a classic sign she's keeping her options open. Doesn't want to commit too far ahead, just in case something better comes along.
Ouch. So it's like, yeah, I'll pencil you in, BUT.
Exactly. And it's not just about specific dates, it's the whole attitude toward the future, right? Does she talk about plans that include you? Does she seem excited about building a life together?
Seeing if you're on the same page about the future. And if she's always avoiding those talks or giving vague answers, might mean she doesn't see you in her long-term plans.
Right. And this often goes hand in hand with another one. She never comes to your place.
They're like your apartment is off limits, right? Happy to meet for dinner, drinks,
Mm-hmm.
but coming over, no way.
Now, everyone has different comfort levels with that, sure. But if she always refuses and there's no good reason, could be she's keeping her distance.
Keeping her life separate almost, like she doesn't want to get too close, leave any part of herself behind.
Exactly. And this whole separation thing often shows up when it comes to defining the relationship too. The label conversation.
Oh yeah, the dreaded what are we
Hmm.
talk. So Sophie, are labels really that important? Is it a big deal if she avoids it?
Well, labels aren't everything, but they do give you clarity, security, right? It's a signal to each other and the world that you're committed to something more.
Knowing where you stand, having that shared understanding.
Exactly. If she always resists putting the label on things, could mean she's not ready to commit or she's still keeping those options open.
So it's not about needing a Facebook update, it's about having that honest conversation. What do you both want? And speaking of conversations, this one's confusing. She's completely different on the phone versus in person.
The digital world meets the real world, and it doesn't always go smoothly. Remember, we talked about some people being more comfortable online? This might be a case of her online persona being a bit more amplified.
So it's like she's putting on a show over text, on calls, then you meet in person, and it's a different story.
Right. And while some difference is normal, if her whole energy changes drastically, might mean she's not being totally genuine.
Pay attention to those inconsistencies. Actions matching words. Online persona matching the real person.
Exactly. And if something feels off, trust your gut, dig a little deeper.
So we've covered 10 potential signs she might be playing you. But one sign alone doesn't mean it's over.
No, definitely not. It's the overall picture. Are you seeing a bunch of these red flags? Is there a pattern of behavior that's making you question things? That's what matters.
And sometimes walking away is the hardest thing, but it's also the most empowering.
Absolutely. You deserve someone who's all in, excited to be with you,
Yeah.
who makes plans, introduces you to their people, doesn't just call when they need something.
Preach. A love that's genuine, fulfilling, reciprocal. Don't settle for less.
Well said. Now, before we wrap up, we should probably talk about why. Why might a woman play these games in the first place?
Good question. What's going on in their heads?
Lots of reasons, Alex. Sometimes it's a defense mechanism, you know? Been hurt before, afraid to get close again.
So it's not always about being mean or intentionally hurting someone.
Right. Sometimes it's self-preservation or even just not knowing themselves that well. Maybe she's not sure what she wants.
That makes sense. Everyone's got their own baggage, their insecurities.
Exactly. Approach these situations with some empathy.
Doesn't mean we have to put up with bad behavior, though.
Of course not. Know your worth, set boundaries.
You teach people how to treat you. Tolerate bad treatment. That's the message you said.
Exactly. Self-respect is everything.
Okay, so we've talked about the signs, the reasons. Now, how do you actually walk away when you feel like you're being played?
It starts with honesty, right? Tell her how you're feeling, what you need. If she's not willing to meet you halfway, make changes, then it's time to step back.
Sometimes that means cutting off contact completely.
It's tough, but sometimes it's what you got to do for your own sake.
And remember, walking away doesn't mean you're weak or that you failed. It means you're strong enough to choose your own happiness.
Right. It's self-love, self-respect.
All right, so we covered a lot today. The 10 signs, the reasons behind them, and how to walk away gracefully with your head held high. Anything else you want to add, Sophie? Final words of wisdom.
Just trust your instincts. If something feels off, It probably is. Don't ignore those red flags. And remember, you deserve a love that's genuine, fulfilling, and reciprocal.
I love that, Sophie. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive today. We've uncovered some real gems, haven't we? But here's one last thing to think about. What if some of these signs aren't just about her playing you? What if it's about her protecting herself too? Maybe she's been hurt before, or maybe she's just not ready for that level of commitment you are. Something to think about.
Yeah, definitely. Always get to look at it from different angles.
Big thanks to everyone for tuning in to Love Hackers. I am Max Carter.
And I'm Sophie Tanaka.
Don't forget to hit subscribe, leave a comment, and share this with your friends who need a little dating boost. Let's be real, we've all run into a player or two out there, right?
Sharing is caring, especially when it comes to dodging those red flags and finding the real deal.
Exactly. And remember, recognizing the signs is only step one. The real power is knowing your worth and walking away from anything that doesn't match what you deserve.
Absolutely. You've got the power to create the love life you want. So go out there, trust your gut, and never settle for anything less than amazing.
Until next time, keep those hearts open and those standards high.